All right, the first question for today is finding what is sometimes called a bottoming tail or a topping tail, and specifically on an indicator. So we're using the cumulative delta indicator here. So a bottoming tail, would be a tail on the bottom of the body. It's sometimes correlated with a possible trend reversal here. And a topping tail, let's see if we can find one. Yeah, here we go, would be, right, a wick on top of the body, like so. And this question came with trying to find, unusually long wicks with relatively small body sizes. So, and let's see, we have a few others circled as well. So yeah, there's another good example. So small body, long wick. So that would be a bottoming tail. And this might be a topping tail. Not sure if the wick is long enough, but we'll find out. So, yeah, here we go. Another example. There you go. So that would be a topping tail. And that would be producing a short signal, for a possible reversal, right? So topping tails are going to generate short signals. And let's get back to our bottoming tail. And so a bottoming tail would be producing a long signal. All right, so there you go. That's the question set up for today. So let's get BloodHound open. So I already have the file name placed in there. And so let's start working on the logic board here. Let's see. So what should we call this? We'll call this, so this is the order flow, cumulative delta. Let's see. So topping and bottoming tails. There we go. All right. So when you're looking at candlestick patterns, right? So this is basically I guess you could say a form or a derivative of a candlestick pattern, since we're dealing with tails. So when you're dealing with candlestick patterns, you're just doing a bunch of complex comparisons of prices, right? So for a bottoming tail, right, you're comparing the low price of the bar, or in this case, it's going to be the low value of this indicator, right, to let's see, what would be the closing price of the body, right? Since this is a down body, it'd be at the close of the body to the low value. So it'd be the close value to the low value, right? And then for a topping tail, let's use this over here, right? So again, it would be the close of the body, or the closing value of the indicator to the high value of the indicator, or the high price if we're actually dealing with actual price candlestick bars. So we're going to be using the comparison solver a lot for doing all this work here. So let's grab one and let's get our result node over here. Let's connect this up. So yeah, first thing we'll do, and I'll just, just for illustration here, we'll use this for a topping tail example, and then use this for a bottoming tail example. So you notice right now I've got the indicator on here twice. So when you're looking at the cumulative delta with the bar set to session, it's sometimes kind of hard to see the length of these wicks in absolute terms. So if you just change your view to the bar style, then seeing the length of the wicks is just visually puts them all into a more relative, well, actually, I mean, an absolute perspective. So in this view, they're more in a relative perspective, and it's kind of hard to judge the actual lengths. So, but the question came in, wanted to use the session bar style here. So I just have the bar style just because it's a little easier to see. So, all right. So let's see here. We have our comparison solver. So first thing we'll do is we'll compare the close value of the cumulative delta to, let's see here. So for a long, we'll use the low value. And for a short, we're going to be comparing it to the high value. So let's see here. We'll just put CD for short for cumulative delta. All right, so again, to take a detailed look at this, right, we're going to compare the close of the body to the wick, right, to the wick end. So in other words, the low. And then over here, again, would be the close of the body to the high of the high value or the high wick of the indicator. So, all right, so let's plug that in here. So let's see. So again, we want to reverse these. So a bottoming tail, we want to generate a long signal. So yeah, so the close is going to be up top, and then the low price is going to be on the bottom, and right, vice versa. So the low price will be on top, and the close will be on the bottom for generating a short signal here. So what we'll do is for the input A, we're going to put the closing price in, or not price, but the closing value of the indicator. So we'll scroll down to the order flow, cumulative delta. There it is. Plug it in, and there. So we'll use the delta close. And again, it's not gonna matter what period type you choose, whether it's session or bar. That's just a visual display. The wicks are the same. I mean, the length of the wicks and the lengths of the bodies are the same. So, all right, so click OK there. And next, input B, that's going to be the ends of the wick. So there's our cumulative delta. All right. And again, so we're using the low to generate a long signal, and then using the high of the wick to generate a short signal. Click it like that. And you'll notice here on the chart, we need to refresh the chart so that this new multi-time frame indicator, so that NinjaTrader can get the secondary time frame that the order flow cumulative delta indicator needs. So we'll just simply reload the chart, and that'll load in the extra data series that the order flow indicator needs. Okay, there we go. All right, so right now it looks definitely really messy, right? So what we'll need to do is do some filtering by the body direction. So, so if you look at this technically, if we look at the close of the body and compare it, to the high of the wick. Actually, hold on a moment. We'll filter things out. We skipped a step. Yeah, we didn't finish setting this up here since we had to reload the chart. So we're looking for, long bar lengths here. So we need to put in a difference amount here. So let's take a look and see how long this wick is. So this wick is just under 600 of value. Yeah, so the volume is just under 600 volume of a wick length there. So let's just be a little conservative and say we'll look for wicks that are 550 volume long, like so. Okay, there we go. So now we have a little filtering going on here, right? So the really short ones are filtered out. So, right, we can see we have some, right, we're getting some long signals here on some of these. But so let's take a look again at this this long red bar here. And so so remember that the solver is measuring in kind of both directions here, right? So if we look, we're getting a short output this. So to understand why, let's understand. So what it's doing is for the short output, it's looking for A to be less than B. And so what's A? Well, A, again, it's the close. So for the short, we're looking at the close price. So that would be down there. And then B is going to be the high. So it's comparing the close to the high up here. Right, so when you're only looking at two sets of values, yeah, comparing the close to the high, well, that has a length, or greater than 550. Right, so so that's why we'll be getting a short output there. So what we need to do is add some filtering. So let's use the body direction here. So again, for bottoming tails, if we want a short body or a down body to generate a long signal here. So let's just take a solver, another comparison solver. There we go. Connect that in. So let's build a bar direction. A cumulative delta bar direction, that is. And so yeah, let's put that in there, CD bar direction. And so let's see. So if it's a down bar, we actually want to use that, right? Down bar with a bottoming wick. We want to use that to generate short signals. So let's see here. Let's put the closing price in first. I'm sorry, the opening price. So yeah, we'll use the delta open first, right? So the open price is going to be higher or greater than the closing price for a down bar, and that'll work for the long output. It's a long output saying A greater than B. So A being the open price is a greater value than B being the close, right? The bar close, or the bar close. And so for input B, we're going to use the close, like so. There we go. And let's just make sure that, let's do one other thing here. Let's go back up here. Getting a little ahead of ourselves. So since we're dealing with an indicator value, we're not dealing with price value, right? If you look over here, if you look at the scaling, that's not price, right? This is cumulative delta, so this is volume. So there's no such thing as a tick value with volume, or more broadly speaking, indicators don't have tick values, right? Unless the indicator runs on the price panel, right? But this order flow, it runs on its own sub panel, so it doesn't have a tick value. So other examples would be the MACD runs on its own scaling. The stochastics runs on its own scaling. So those indicators don't have tick values, right? Only price has a tick value. So if you're going to use a comparison solver on an indicator, right, that runs on its own subpanel, instead of using ticks, you want to use points. Right, so we want to use the whole, the whole value here. So points being the whole unit, right? Whereas ticks would be a subunit. And of course, indicators like the MACD don't have subunits. They have only whole units, right? So you want to use points. Okay, and then let's do the same thing for this bar direction. Let's change that to points, change that to points. And let's just make sure that the body has at least a value of 1, right? So a body length of 1. Yeah, and so we can identify basically, cumulative delta bodies here. Actually, it's right, that are absolute doji. So the open equals the close right there. So, all right, so we have an output here that's the opposite direction of the body. Because remember, so with bottoming tails, you're typically going to have a down body, right? Because it's down volume. So let's take this, what we have so far, and put it into an AND node. So we'll get a better picture of what's going on here. And so there we go. So now that cleans everything up. And if we take a look at this guy, our little example, it didn't quite have a long enough tail. Yeah, that tail was, let's see, just under 400. Yeah, that tail was just under 400. And on this solver here, we're looking for tails of at least 550 or more. So let's see here. We can call this, if I put that in there. So 550 tail. Actually, let's see here. Let's call this a cumulative delta tail, like so. All right. There. And we also know from the name that this is comparing the close to the low and high. So there, I'll kind of abbreviate this a little bit more here. There we go. All right. So now let's take a look through the chart here and find some other kind of situations here, right? Because I can imagine that we may have a bottoming tail, but the body might be an up body, a green body, right? Let's see. Yeah, there we go. So there's our topping tail. Yeah, so let's see here. Let's take a look at this little guy here. So, right, so it has an upward body, but a bottoming tail. Although that tail's a little short. See if we can find one with a longer tail. Ah, here we go. Well, no, that's a down body. Here we go. Let's see how long that tail is. Yeah, that tail is only 450 long. Oh, here we go. Here's the one circled from earlier. So there we go. So that's an up body, slightly up body. Now if we look at the delta close, it's a positive 72. So it's an up body with a good long tail. So there we go. So we'll use that as our example here. All right, so since this has an up body, we're going to need to take our bar direction and we're going to need to reverse it. So we'll use the long short modifier to reverse it there. And we'll just use the swap mode here. So I like to name the solver, or name these function nodes as to what they're doing. So that's just swapping the direction. So if we take a look at it, right? So now, green bodies now have a long output. So now everything matches up, so things are no longer reversed there. All right, we'll take that. And now this time, so remember, so previously we were measuring from the close value to the high and low. So if the body's in the wrong direction, we're going to actually measure from the open. So let's stretch this out a little bit. Okay. So we'll be measuring from the open down to the low or the high, right? So what we'll do is we'll take this solver that we already made. So I'm going to take this solver that we've already made here on the solvers tab, make a copy of it. So this time we're going to be measuring from the open value to the low or the high. So we just need to take input A, right? And instead of using the close, we want to use the open value, delta open. There. All right, so we've got that done. And so switching back over to the logic tab. So let's go to the solvers node. And in existing nodes, there's that new solver that I just made. So let's drop it down here. And let's take a look and see what we have. Yeah, and there we go. So we have a long output here for this. And again, we're faced with the same problem here, right? So long bodies, we're kind of getting some, erroneous results here. We're getting short outputs when we get these really long bodies here. So again, we're going to need some, bar direction filtering. So let's take another AND node, connect that in there, connect that in there, and there we go. So there we go. So there's actually a couple of bars, that have a bottoming tail, like so. Now, there was another component to this question, and that was, to look that, supposedly we wanted small bodies compared to the Wicks. So what we built so far is essentially it's just finding these Wicks, these longer Wicks here, a wick that has a length of 550, volume, a volume of 550. So if we wanted to add another condition or another filter to make sure that it has a small body, we can do that too. And let's scroll through and see if we can find some examples here. So let's see here. Yeah, this guy actually didn't have a long enough tail on it. Or actually, I'm sorry. It did. Yeah, it did. It's just that we're looking at the wrong output. So we actually want to look at this AND node. Yeah, there we go. So actually that was good. Let's put that back on there. Yeah. And to make sure we don't make that mistake again, let's connect everything together like so, right? So this AND node up here, this would basically be, the body with the tail. And this one here would be, the body in the opposite direction, or yeah, let's just say opposite direction of the tail. There. All right, so now we can see everything at once. So I'll see if I can find some obvious examples of a body that might be too long here. Yeah, here we go. Let's take a look at this one. Let's filter out this one. Let's say that it clearly looks pretty long compared to the wick. So let's see here. All right, so we have a bar direction, and so what's this bar direction solver measuring? Well, it's measuring the body, right? The open value versus the closed value, right? Which is the body. So what I'm going to do again is I can take this bar direction, make a copy of it, and rename this to bar length. And so all we need to do is just, put a value in here. So let's say, so we were looking for Wicks of 550. So for example, let's say the body needs to be, less than 250. So that's a little less than half of the wick. And this time we're going to use A equals B right within this value here. So let's see. You'll notice sometimes the number doesn't update, right? All right. So with this large amount, I updated it to 250, but you can see the text still says within 1 point. So some computers, this doesn't update, and in some computers, it doesn't have a problem updating. It's just a little glitch with the Microsoft software. But all you got to do is click off, click back on, and there you go. Now the text is updated. So now we can see we want to find that A equals B within 250 points. So again, what's A and B? So remember, A is the open value, and B is the closed value. So let's change our settings there. Change these outputs like so. There we go. All right, so we have this solver. Now let's put it on the board. So go to existing nodes, and there's our bar length. Now let's just connect it in and make sure it looks correct. And yeah, so there we go. So now we can see, right, everything, whenever there's an output here, everything that has a racing stripe has a pretty small body to it. So let's name this here. So we know this has a 250 cumulative delta bar length. Yeah, or actually not bar. Let's call this body length there. All right, so yeah, so what we can do is if we connect this, let's connect the OR node back up. All right, so there we go. Remember this bar with the square. Shrink that up a little bit. So we want to filter that one out. So if we connect this down there, like so, and there we go. And I think it filtered out some others here. Let's disconnect that again. Yeah, it filtered out this guy too. Let's put a little dot there, right? So there we go. That little log signal, that got filtered out as well. Yeah, filtered both of those. Oops, sorry. Connecting up the wrong thing here. Let's connect this back into the AND node. There we go. So yeah, it filtered out both of these signals. So that body is just a little bit bigger than 250. So let's take a look. It was 264. So in any case, you can do some adjustments here, to find what you want to find. There we go. And also, if we wanted to filter out bodies in the opposite direction, then we could just connect this down here like so. There. And let's see. We could slip this down in here like this. There. There we go. Something like that. All right. And take one last look. Let's see. Oh, even this one here got filtered out as well. Let's see. That had a pretty big body of 576. So everything is, obviously things are kind of relative here. So, all right. Well, with that, let me point out one more thing here. Some questions that might come up. So if you look in the amount here, in the different measured in units here, right? So we have different measurement units. So, and one of them is ATRs. Now, this ATR is always ATR of the price bars. So, so this would not be ATR of the order flow cumulative delta. So let's keep that in mind. So if you want to try and put things in relative terms, maybe the ATR might work. So you might be able to, take all these comparison solvers and switch them from points over to ATRs, but just keep in mind that they're set to the bar price ATR. Okay, well, that does it for this question. Thanks, guys.